evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along.
Do we have any announcements? We've got a group conscience coming up. When, Trish? What's the date on that?
October something. I will put it in chat.
Okay, there you go. That'll work, and we will also get our website and all of our other meetings posted in chat. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of silent meditation followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing, as to not distract others or yourself, as the case may be. We suggest that we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God and let the craziness of the day drift away. Ask God to help you focus on the study.
And now it is time for those cute little monks to come in, so enjoy your time with God, folks. And for those of you who wish, if you would like to join us in our family's fog light prayer, it'll be on your screen. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those who are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report.
Good evening, folks. My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And I have asked William to read the recovered statement this evening. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, William.
Thank you. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered, but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we are not cured, we will be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergy reaction to alcohol will remain with us a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of our alcoholism centers in his mind rather than in his body, in the body. Page 23. We are not saying where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, William. And thank you all for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our big book study starts promptly at 6:30 Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our big book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during our study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a big book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page 20, Roman numeral 20, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on without AA, showed improvement. And we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time. Don't see any. And those new to AA? The recovered alcoholics, these are your potential sponsors. And we have three, well, only two are here. So two people celebrating AA anniversaries tonight. We have Xavier for 4 years.
There's a chip for you, brother.
Congratulations, my friend. And we have Trish for 38 years. Wow. A lot of letters on that one. Congratulations, Trish.
Thank you.
If you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice the seventh tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal, posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website, also posted in chat. Thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you so much, Art. From Chapter 2, There is a Solution. Also from the Big Book, the tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out in which we can absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility. And on that note, I would just like to say, if you decide you like what we have to offer in this group and you would like to become a home group member, we would certainly love to have you. It means that you have a voice in our group and the way that we operate as part of our group conscience, what we do with our money, the whole thing. So please feel free to let either Trish or I know, and we will get the details. And I also want to mention, Pinky Pickle, welcome home. Good to have you with us. It's been a long time. Glad to have you with us, sister. Okay, Trish.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 8. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 9. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Hi, this is Ian, and Tradition 9 is the subject tonight. AA, such, ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. Just as the 12 steps secure our membership in the Society of Alcoholics Anonymous, anyone can come in any condition to any meeting. We are the only organization in the world that functions in a way that we do with these traditions. They are vital to the life of Alcoholics Anonymous. The people that are appointed to our committees, it's a thankless privilege of doing group chores that we all can't do for whatever reasons. These committees can only make the necessary service arrangements by which the group can function. They can give no spiritual advice, judge no one's conduct, issue no orders. Any committee members may be promptly eliminated at the next election if he tries to throw his weight around. This is what's so different from any other organization, and that's what it says. We don't be organized because organizations have CEOs, they have people that give a lot of money. We don't allow that. We all give what we can when we can, and we're all trusted servants. Any member can be on a board or a committee if they are qualified for what that means. But in no way do they ever make a judgment. None of us have ever gotten expelled from AA like we could have in high school or college. You know, if my 3 relapses, even in prison, 3 times that you break the law, then it's like imprisonment or life exclusion, really. In AA, the doors are always open. You can come sober, you can come inebriated, and we'll take care of you. This is just the spiritual foundation. This particular step is often overlooked, and some people laugh when they say not organized, but that's so that no one group or one personality can, tell you what to do. That's why we have the freedom to sponsor each other the way we do. There's no school of sponsorship. We sponsor spiritually from what we've learned from our sponsors. And we have that freedom because of this ninth tradition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. I'm going to bring in a comment that about something that Ian said. Because all of our leaders are trusted servants, and there is a spirit of rotation. And the example of that is at fourth quarter assembly coming up in October, as this group's GSR, I will be going to Area 64, which represents all of Tennessee, and we will be having elections for the change of officers there, which will be delegate, alternate delegate, treasurer, secretary, and so on. So we will have new representation coming in. And that's one of the great parts of being in the service structure of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group is always the boss and basically sets the precedent for what New York does. Thank you so much for your service, Ian. Very grateful, my friend. Oh, it's me, huh? Before oh, no. Ah.
Next line.
Next line. Okay, here we go. I gotta grab the accessories. As we study, please make use of.
Up one.
Oh gosh, that ain't in the book. Molly's doing that ain't in the book. So hey, so I'm a little off schedule here. So we hear a lot of things said in meetings that can't be reconciled with what is in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things that we often hear people say in meetings is, there are no musts in the program, in the Big Book. Molly, what does the Big Book tell us about that tonight?
Well, at the top of page 75, last sentence of the paragraph before, it reads, but we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone.
Thank you so much. And that's talking about step 5.
As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
Okay. Keep me in line here, Trish. Keep me in line. In order to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
I have to find my page. In order for us to... Nope, that was you. Tonight we're going to start our recap on page
561.
561, which will be read tonight by
Alyssa.
And following that will be our study portion, and that will be read by Terry.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
No, hang on, Alyssa, not yet. After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium starting back at the top of the page. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation. And let me tell you what's going to happen tonight, folks. We're going to do it like last week when in the study portion. When Terry reads the 7th tradition, we are going to go to the questions on the 7th tradition. So we'll need some answer readers to raise their hands at that time. After those questions are answered, she'll move on to tradition 8. We'll answer the questions on those, so on and so on, all through it until we are complete. And that's how we're going to do it tonight. We do it a little different when we have the traditions come up. Okay, Trish, I'm done.
Okay. Basically in English, and referring back to those one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, etc. Basically in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through, and then re-dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, observations based on what we just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, please by all means share that. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, I might hold a cute little puppy up to let you know that your time is up.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send those buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And how did we get here? We are in week 93 of a 94-week study, so we are just about done with season 2, and after we do that, we're going to roll all the way back and start season or year 3. And as we do that, we're going to start out at the preface and read the forewords and the doctor's opinion and Bill's story. We're going to investigate what the problem is. And then after we do that, we're going to explore the solution by reading this. There is a solution, more about alcoholism and we agnostics. And every one of these chapters, just like tonight, we're going to read line by line, sentence by sentence with the question and answer format so that we can really see how this information applies to us. Then we're going to go into our program of action, how it works into action and working with others. And then we go into our pre-Al-Anon chapters, or the lost chapters, because so many people don't like 2 wives, the family afterward, or 2 employers. I don't have a wife, I don't have a family, I don't have a job. Why do I need to read these chapters? But there's so much good information on helping others and on building relationships. And then we'll look at the gift from God, the chapter on a vision for you. We'll also look at Dr. Bob's nightmare, a spiritual experience 4 times during the study. Once will be next week where we'll concentrate just on that and not the portion of the study as well. And then we spent 2 weeks on the traditions. So that's how we got here.
Yes, and this tonight is not only week 93, but it also makes 186 weeks in a row that we have been doing this study. So it's been absolutely a joy to do it and looking forward to season 3. So we need about 6 hands raised to be question answers, please, for those of you who would be so willing. Thank you, Molly. So we could use 5 more. The answers will be coming right out of the book. And thank you. And Alyssa, come on in, Pinky. And Pinky is going to read us a recap of last week and take us through the first 6 traditions, and then we'll move on to the study.
Thank you, Jamie. Hi, my name's Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. The AA tradition. To those now in its fold, Alcoholics Anonymous has made the difference between misery and sobriety, and often the difference between life and death. AA can, of course, mean just as much to uncounted alcoholics not yet reached. Therefore, no society of men and women have ever had a more urgent need for continuous effectiveness and permanent unity. We alcoholics see that we must work together and hang together, else most of us will finally die alone. The 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous are: we AAs believe the best answers that our experience has yet given to those ever urgent questions. How can AA best function? and how can AA best stay whole and so survive. On the next page, AA's 12 traditions are seen in their so-called short form, the form in general use today. This is a condensed version of the original long form AA traditions as first printed in 1946. Because the long form is more explicit and of possible historic value, it is also reproduced. The 12 traditions, the long form. Our AA experience has taught us that 1. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is but a small part of a great whole. AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Hence our common welfare comes first, but individual welfare follows close afterward. 2. For a group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. 3. Our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover, nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group, provided that, as a group, they have no other affiliation. 4. With respect to its own affairs, each AA group should be responsible to no other authority than its own conscience. But when its plans concern the welfare of neighboring groups also, those groups ought to be consulted. And no group, regional committee, or individual should ever take any action that might greatly affect AA as a whole without conferring with the trustees of the General Service Board. On such issues, our common welfare is a paramount. 5. Each Alcoholics Anonymous group ought to be a spiritual entity having but one primary purpose, that of carrying its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6. Problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, that any considerable property of genuine use to AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus divided the material from the spiritual. An AA group, as such, should never go into business, secondary aids to AA, such as clubs or hospitals which require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart that, if necessary, they could be freely discarded by groups. Hence, such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Their management should not be the sole responsibility of those people who financially support them. For clubs, AA managers are usually preferred, but hospitals, as well as other places of recuperation, ought to be well outside AA and medically supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with any one, such corporation ought never go so far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied. An AA group can bind itself to no one. Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you so much for being of service, Alyssa. Great to have you home. And now Terry is going to go in and start with Tradition 7, and this will be tonight's study. Hi, Terry.
Okay, my name's Terry. Hi, I'm a recovered alcoholic. Tradition 7, the AA groups themselves ought to be fully supported by the voluntary contributions of their own members. We think that each group should soon achieve this ideal, that any public solicitation of funds using the name of Alcoholics Anonymous is highly dangerous, whether by groups, clubs, hospitals, or other outside agencies. That acceptance of large gifts from any source or of contributions carrying any obligation whatever is unwise. Then, too, we view with much concern those AA treasuries which continue beyond prudent reserves to accumulate funds for no stated AA purpose. Experience has often warned us that nothing can so surely destroy our spiritual heritage as futile disputes over money, property, money, and authority.
Okay, so we are going to go to Tradition 7, folks, and we're going to ask the questions on this first, and the batting order is going to be Molly, William, Kenny, and Susan. All of you can unmute yourselves, and we are just going to go line by line with this, and I am going to ask Molly the first question. It will be a two-part question. Who should fully support an AA group, and by what kinds of contributions?
The AA groups themselves ought to be fully supported by the volunteer contributions of their own members.
Thank you very much. And William, four-part question. A, do we think this should take a long time? B, how about asking general public for contributions? C, how about large gifts? And D, how about obligatory contributions?
We think these groups should soon achieve this idea that any public solicitation of funds using the name of Alcoholics Anonymous is highly dangerous, whether by group, club, hospital, or outside agency. That accepting of large gift from any source or contribution carry any obligation whatsoever is unwise.
Thank you, brother. Kenny, welcome, brother. Good to see you. One single question for you, young man. What about keeping funds in excess of prudent reserve?
Then, too, we view with much concern those AA treasuries which continue beyond prudent reserve to accumulate funds for no stated AA purpose.
Thank you.
An informed group conscience determines what the prudent reserve should be.
And Molly, you get the final question on Tradition 7.
Susan.
Isn't there one more reader?
Susan.
Oh, Susan, I'm sorry. I got lost. I wasn't looking at my screen. I was relying on memory. Clearly, my memory fails me. Too much chlorine in my head. Susan, of what has experience forewarned us?
Experience has often warned us that nothing can so surely destroy our spiritual heritage as futile disputes over property, money, and authority.
Thank you, sister. I am so glad you are here. And Terry, if you'd like to move on to Tradition 8, please.
Okay, Tradition 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional. We define professionalism as the occupation of counseling alcoholic for fees or hire. But we may employ alcoholics where they are going to perform those services for which we might otherwise have to engage non-alcoholics. Such special services may be well recompensed, but our usual AA 12-step work is never to be paid for.
Thank you so much. And Molly, coming back to you. How should Alcoholics Anonymous forever remain?
Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional.
Thank you. William, how do we define professionalism?
We define professionalism as occupational of counseling alcohol for free or hire.
Thank you. Kenny, where may we employ alcoholics?
But we may employ alcoholics where they are going to perform those services for which we might otherwise have to engage non-alcoholics.
Thank you so much. And Susan, How should such services be compensated?
Such special services may be well recompensed.
Thank you. And Molly, final question on this. What is never to be paid for?
But our usual AA 12-step work is never to be paid for.
Thank you so much. Terry, moving on to tradition 9.
The AA group needs the least possible organization. Rotating leadership is the best. The small group may elect its secretary, the large group its rotating committee, and the groups of a large metropolitan area their central or intergroup committee, which often employs full-time secretaries. The trustees of the General Service Board are, in effect, our AA General Service Committee. They are the custodians of our AA traditions and receivers of voluntary AA contribution by which we maintain our AA General Service Office at New York. They are authorized by the groups to handle our overall public relations, and they guarantee the integrity of our principal newsletter, the AA Grapevine. All such representatives are to be guided in the spirit of service, for true leaders in AA are but trusted and experienced servants of the whole. They derive no real authority from their titles. They do not govern. Universal respect is the key to their usefulness.
Thank you so very much. And trying to think of who I ended up with last time. Molly, I gave you the
left
last.
off with me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so William, moving on to you. What is it AA very little of?
Each AA groups need the least possible organization.
Thank you. Kenny, what kind of leadership is best?
Rotating leadership is best.
Thank you. Susan, a 4-part question. A small group may elect what? B, a large group may need what? C, large cities may find it desirable to have what? And D, what would be required for the central committee?
The small group may elect its secretary, the large group its rotating committee, and the groups of a large metropolitan area their central or intergroup committee, which often employs a full-time secretary.
Thank you so much. Molly, the trustees of the General Service Board are what?
The trustees of the General Service Board are, in effect, our AA General Service Committee.
Thank you so much, William. 3-part question. A, of what are they custodians? B, what do they receive? And C, what do our contributions maintain?
They are custodian of our AA tradition and the receiver of voluntary AA contribution by which we maintain our AA General Service Office at New York.
Thank you. Okay, that's it.
New York.
Thank you. Kenny, 2-part question. A, what have the groups authorized them to do? And B, they guarantee the integrity of what?
They are authorized by the group to handle our overall public relations, and they are guaranteed the integrity of our personal newspaper, the AA Grapevine.
Thank you so much. And Susan, 2-part question. A, all representatives are to be guided by what? And B, our true leaders are what?
All such representatives are to be guided in the spirit of service, For true leaders in AA are but trusted and experienced servants of the whole.
Thank you so much. And Molly, two-part questions. They derive no what? And B, what do they not do?
They derive no real authority from their titles. They do not govern.
Thank you. And William, final question. Universal respect is what?
Universal respect is the key to their usefulness.
Thank you so much. And Terry, tradition 10, please.
There it is. No AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, express any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous group opposes no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatever.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Kenny, kicking it off with you. Two-part question. What should no AA group or individual member do? And B, this applies particularly to what?
No AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, expresses any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcoholic reform, or sectarian religion.
Thank you. Susan, who does AA oppose?
The Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one.
Thank you so very much. And Molly, aside from our program of recovery, our traditions and our concepts on what may we express our views?
Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatever.
This tradition deals with practical anonymity.
Okay, thank you. And Terry, moving on to tradition 11.
Our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity. We think AA ought to avoid sensational advertising. Our names and pictures as AA members ought not be broadcast, filmed, or publicly printed. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion. There is never need to praise ourselves. We feel it better to let our friends recommend us.
Thank you so very much. Susan, we're kicking it off with you, sister. How should our relations with the general public be characterized?
Our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity.
Thank you. Molly, what should AA avoid?
We think AA ought to avoid sensational advertising.
Thank you. William, as AA members, how should our names and pictures be treated?
Our names and pictures as AA member ought not be broadcast, filmed, or publicly printed.
Thank you. Kenny, what principles should guide our public relations? Kenny, you're muted.
Okay. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion.
Thank you. And Susan, what do we never need to do?
There is never need to praise ourselves.
Thank you. And Molly, we'll finish it off with you. If we don't, who will?
we feel it better to let our friends recommend us.
This tradition deals with spiritual anonymity.
Terry, with tradition 12, please.
And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who provides over us all.
You have some comments, Trish?
After the questions or now?
Oh, duh. Sorry. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking tonight. So ended with Molly picking up with William. And finally, members of Alcoholics Anonymous believe what?
And finally, we Alcoholics Anonymous believes that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance.
Thank you. That's it right there. And clearly we can see my defects of character working tonight. Kenny, two-part question. A, it reminds us to do what? And B, we are to practice.
It reminds us that we are to place principles before personality, that we are to actually to practice a genuine humility.
Thank you. And Susan, two-part question, and it is the final question of the night. A, that what may never spoil us, and that we shall forever do what?
This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all.
Okay, Trish.
Many groups close their meetings by praying the Lord's Prayer. These traditions epitomize the beginning and final phrases of this prayer. We begin by praying, Our Father. Not my Father or your Father, but just our Father, making us all totally equal in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. This accepts that this is His kingdom, and as His children, since He is the King, each of us is a prince or princess with the heritage that goes with that privilege. It is His power, not ours, that has saved us from the final end for most alcoholics, death or permanent insanity. And it is His glory. We give Him all the credit and take none for ourselves. We hope we may always be willing to be of maximum service to Him and the people about us. And one final note, Alcoholics Anonymous is far more than a 12-step program. It is a spiritual program comprised by spiritual principles grouped in 12s. First, we are given the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which provides the suffering alcoholic with clear-cut directions for recovery from the fatal malady of alcoholism. We are then given the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous, which establish the boundaries for the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, the way it lives and grows. We are then presented with the 12 concepts of Alcoholics Anonymous, the means by which AA serves suffering alcoholics around the world. These make up the 3 legacies of Alcoholics Anonymous: recovery, unity, and service. So in reality, AA is a 36-step program. But if AA is made up in sets of 12, why only 11 chapters? The rest of our basic text is comprised of the stories of the hopeless alcoholics who adopted this program as a way of life and recovered to live a full and useful life. that chapter 12 in your big book will be your story. So how will it read? Because it is now up to you to write your story. Will you be one of those who can be humble enough to become a student and a practitioner of this big book, thereby living a life of purpose? If so, you will make the difference in the lives of many people as you travel through life, just as Bill W. and Dr. Bob did. Will you be one of those who is willing to bet your life on the fellowship of AA and just go to meetings, hoping against hope that you will not be one of the many to fail and remain sober? Who return to the miserable life of just living for the next drink, maybe never to return? Or will you be one of those who believes they are above this fellowship program and all this God stuff? If you are one of those, you will very likely never see this page. But if you do see this page and can realize that the study you have just completed may produce for you that which it did for the authors of this book, why not give it your very best try? Yes, it will mean some inconvenience and interruptions in your daily life. But if you can sense that you drank to change the way you thought and the way you felt, and that option is no longer available to you, isn't it worth the time and effort to see if this program might not do all those things for you that you cannot do for yourself, to have a solution to all your problems? One thing we know is that when we arrive at AA, we will serve a purpose. What purpose will your arrival demonstrate? Will your demonstration be one of success, or will it be a failure? We paid a hell of a price to get here. Shouldn't we be willing to pay the price to stay here? It's far less painful. Rarely have we seen a person fail to find both physical sobriety and emotional sobriety, who has carefully followed the directions in the big book. Try it. You too just might like it. We recover by the steps we take, not the meetings we make. It is much easier to stay sober than it is to try to sober up.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation tonight. And Trish, next time we do that, when we get back around to this in a year and a half, remind me to share those comments in screen share so everyone can see them. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we are open for questions, comments, observations, experience with traditions 7 through 12. And I can tell you this, for those of you who may regularly attend 12 and 12 studies, there might be something that you notice, that if it's a 12 and 12 study that does a tradition once a month, there's great attendance on the nights when they do the steps, but on the night when they study a tradition, the attendance has a tendency to fall off. And that is so dangerous for Alcoholics Anonymous because, these traditions are to the group what the steps are to us as individuals. And without them, we will surely, surely die. Molly, come on in, sister. Welcome.
Thank you, Molly, recovered alcoholic. I wanted to reiterate basically what you were just saying. I've been to so many meetings, in both rooms, where when the traditions come up, everybody skedaddles, and I was one of those people. I am so appreciative of this book study and getting into the traditions like this. It really has taken away the that's the traditions. I don't have to worry about that. That's, for the people who are, doing the upper service levels or whatever. I just have to work my steps. These have really opened my eyes to the workings of not only for me within meetings and us within meetings, but also in my life. How I relate, there's a lot of things in here that help me relate to other people better, help me to communicate in group settings better. And, you know, because this is a life program. This isn't, I mean, I honestly believe just anybody could benefit greatly from the three categories, the steps, the traditions, and the concepts. It is a way of life. And I just think there's so much of it. You know, alcohol is what brought me here, but there were a lot of underlying things that happened along the way that are being helped, being taken care of, have been taken care of by reading this book, by coming to the meetings, and by having people in my life who understand where I'm coming from in a way that other people just can't. So thank you, and thank you for this big book study. It's really helped me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Grateful you are here. Hi, family. My name is Jamie. I'm very grateful recovered alcoholic. And first off, I'm glad you're all here. And this meeting, you guys are the group. This meeting works because of you guys. And thank you, Terry. I'll get to you in a minute, and it'll give some of the others of you a chance to raise your hands. I want to touch on a couple of things. So COVID hit, and the Zoom world opens up. This particular group, Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group, operates by the traditions the way it would in the bricks and mortar world. That's exactly the way we do it. Each and every member of this group is from another state. I'm the only one in Tennessee. So that makes our spirit of rotation a little more difficult when it comes to electing another GSR to go do service commitments and so on. It's my hope that eventually we will have more people here in Tennessee that can do that, unless the area decides to go 100% virtual and stop doing live assemblies. Then any one of you could become GSR of this group and represent us virtually. And that's important, and that's a little out of sync with the way the traditions are laid out tonight. But it's a joy and honor to represent this group. So Tradition 7, we are definitely self-supporting in this group. And what we have decided in this group is what our operating costs for the year are. We don't just pay for a Zoom room in this group. We buy big books, we give them away free. We mail them out. We have printing expenses because when someone comes into rotation, I have a book like this that I mail to you in hard copy with a return envelope so you can send it back to me when you come into rotation. So you don't have to try and read everything off your screen because computers fail. So all of that has been decided by our group conscience. It's nothing I decided. The significance of that is our group conscience makes all of our financial decisions. Things get presented to them, they make the decisions. We go to assemblies 4 times a year in this group to carry the voice of this group to our local area And that way our delegate carries it to the trustees and the General Service Board in New York. It's an upside down triangle. The groups are at the top. The trustees are at the very bottom of the triangle. And they take their marching orders basically from all of the groups around the United States and Canada. Alcoholics Anonymous in other countries have their own service structure, but it works the same way. So that is important. We don't keep excess funds in this group. Operating costs for this group are about $2,500 a year. That pays for the Zoom room, for the website, for big books, for all the mailing expenses, pays to go to the assemblies 4 times a year. And if we have any money left over, or anything above that 2,500, that's what we send off to the 4 entities of Alcoholics Anonymous, which are our local district. We send a percentage to them. We send a percentage to Intergroup, which is the front lines. Some of you may know it as central office. We send a contribution to GSO, which is in New York, and we send a contribution to area, and we support all 4 of those areas. That's what we do with the money, and we decide that all at group conscience, and we'll be deciding that at our next group conscience as well. We'll talk about that financial stuff. Tradition 8 should remain forever non-professional. There is no one in this group that gets paid to do anything at all. But there are members of Alcoholics Anonymous that do things like go into life coaching and stuff like that, and maybe they work for an agency. I've also heard of people that market themselves out to help people work the steps and charge them for it. I don't believe that is in alignment with the traditions as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, but that's really between them and their God. As long as I know what's right between me and my God, and I stay accountable to my group, that is important, and I am just a servant to this group. That's all. Tradition 9. We clearly, tonight, I'm lost. Obviously, clearly not organized. But rotating our leadership is best, you know. And in this meeting, we do have a service rotation that we do. Hopefully one day more people will live in Tennessee, and we will have an active part of that in Tennessee. So, you know, move to Tennessee, folks. Move to Tennessee. What can I say? Keep that one short. Tradition. The general. I do want to touch on this because here's some things that have happened. The trustees and so on. The chair of the trustees was asked to step down this last year by all of the other 23 trustees. No one knows the details of it, but they were asked to step down from service for whatever that was. I've asked myself the question, is it something that the group should know? Maybe it is, but if it is something that was egregious, if that were to come out publicly on the world stage, is it something that could harm Alcoholics Anonymous? Absolutely. And so I have to trust that the trustees are doing the right thing. And at our last general conference, our delegate was satisfied with the apologies and the solutions that the trustees were coming up. So I have to believe that they are hopefully spiritually doing what is in the best interest of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll just leave it at that because there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Tradition 10. No AA group or member should ever in such a way as to implicate AA express an opinion outside controversial, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. Folks, I don't know about you guys, but I see it happen in bricks and mortar, and I see it happen in the Zoom world all the time. People bring outside issues into meetings all of the time. And it's really got no place in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not an Alcoholics Anonymous issue, it's a personal issue. And those are things that should really be done with good sponsorship, with our book talks about when we discover we have problems other than alcoholism, we seek the outside professional help. So if I decide I want to talk about politics or my mental health or any of those things and bring that to the table in a meeting, those are really all outside issues that I don't need to bring up in a meeting. I need to stick to our fifth tradition, the primary purpose of carrying the message that is in our big book. That's what I need to stick to. Tradition 11, I have been characterized sometime as the poster child for anonymity because everyone knows I'm an alcoholic. But here again, I have to remember, it's no secret that I'm an alcoholic. Everyone knew I was a drunk. Most people, everyone in my world knows that I'm in recovery. But here it's talking about the level of press, radio, and films. One of the things that has happened in the last year is AA Grapevine has come up with a podcast. There's a couple of other podcasts, AA podcasts, that are in the works. Do I know how well the anonymity is protected? No, I don't. But I hope that they are being guided by spiritual principles as they go through that. Because I would hate to see any harm come to Alcoholics Anonymous and the fellowship as a whole. I love where it talked about Tradition 10 being practical anonymity and Tradition 11 being spiritual anonymity in those comments that Trish made. And finally, Tradition 12. You know, I absolutely love this tradition. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities. We are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall ever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. You know, folks, we go to meetings, and we never know who we're sitting next to. They may have been someone who just got out of prison for some serious crimes. They might have other issues that are serious things. It is not my place to judge where they are. It is my place to embrace them as an alcoholic and to help them find a pathway to God and to a spiritual way of living. And should I get up from my chair in judgment and go out into the world and say something about these people, that is not placing principles before personalities, and it is not living in humility. The thing I have to remember is I could be just like those people. If I am acting in love, kindness, patience, and tolerance, and praying for others that God will show them their pathway, I will probably get a little closer to developing some humility in my own life. Thank you for allowing me to take so much time. Terry, come on in, sister. Thank you.
Hi, recovered alcoholic. Boy, how do I follow that? You covered all the bases, all the traditions. But I do want to say that I must not have been here last time we went through this second half of the tradition, because what Trish read tonight was so powerful and so insightful. And if I was here last year, I wasn't ready to hear it possibly. But it gave me so much better understanding of the 12 step, 12 traditions, and 12 or 11 chapters, all that. It's just remarkable that was included with this study. And I do want to say also that last sentence of the 12th tradition, I always, whenever I hear that, whenever I read it, I just have to read it over and over again because it's so beautifully worded. To this to the end, that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of him who presides over us. That is beautiful, because sometimes I do take this program for granted, maybe not so much in the last couple of years that I've been coming here. But before I started a true book study and understanding this, I think I did take my my sobriety a little bit for granted. I certainly didn't. I didn't live in thankful contemplation. You know, living in gratitude. I just think that's so important, and this group has really taught me how to do that to a better extent. And then I want to go back to tradition 9. For those of you that have a better, before I do that, I want to thank Ing for stepping up to be our traditionalist, because I just think this is the best voluntary job that you could have in this group. I've learned so much from being a traditionalist and learned so much from the history of AA. It's enriched my program greatly. And I just love more of you to step up to volunteer, because you'll just absolutely love reading the history and seeing how we're all related. You know, all these things that happened back in the 30s have affected all of us. And we're all here together because of what those early founders put together for us. So anyway, tradition 9, the last sentence says, universal respect is the key to their usefulness. I don't get it. I don't know what that means. So if anybody can expand on that a little bit. I know they're talking about the representatives, but I'm not really sure what universal respect is the key to their usefulness means. And since this is a book study, I'd rather not pass it by, because I know I've done this tradition as a traditionalist, and I probably skipped that part because I didn't know what it meant. So anyway, I'd love to hear from anybody that might have a better understanding of what that means. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. And I can answer that question for you. You have been to a few of our group consciences, and in fact, I think every one of them. And no one is the boss. They derive no real authority from their titles. They do not govern. Universal respect is the key to their usefulness. So, for example, I'm GSR. You are treasurer of our group. Trish is group secretary within our group, right? And we've got a couple of other group officers as well. And we all come together for the common good of the group. We don't really rubber stamp things, but we also have good, healthy debate and discussion on the issues that face us, and then we come to a decision together, and we all love each other and respect one another, regardless of what the differences may be. And I believe that's what it's talking about. Xavier, welcome, birthday boy.
Hey, good evening, Xavier, recovered alcoholic. Just wanted to share quickly, grateful for this group, grateful to make it through the whole study. It's been a good year and a half. And I really like how, procedurally A is broken down, where you guys really do a great job, in my opinion, reminding us that you don't recover from going to meetings, you recover from the steps you take, and that with a triangle, we also have unity and service. And with unity, we have the 12 traditions, and with service, 12 concepts. And me meditating or doing inventory does not ensure that the group stays together. The traditions do. And I like the concepts you learn in the traditions and how we can apply that to the real world. I like how it takes into consideration just not only their personal experience, but a lot of perceived or potential character defects. My favorite ones are, I think it's 1 and 4. I always mix up 4 and 5. But 1 where the group's more important than the single person. Like the single person is a close second. At the end of the day, you have to protect the group. Without the group, we're all in trouble. Unity is an essential part of that trifecta for a healthy program. So we have to take care of the group. And the second one, where every group can remain autonomous. And I see it as like we're allowed to be wrong. So if I'm in a group that maybe doesn't always follow the traditions, that's okay, because the group's allowed to be wrong per the traditions. And I really like that. It's allowing, in my opinion, like pure, what's the word? It's very radical. Like it's a very radical concept. It's almost pure chaos, but it's keeping it together. It's very punk in that you have a bunch of very opinionated, for the most part, alcoholics, yet through the traditions, if we follow a lot of these concepts and principles and make sure that we are reminded we're all equal, there's no one really in authority, that how we deal with press, how we deal with meeting, what the main message should be, what we should take into consideration in making decisions, especially when we discuss topics that affect the meeting. And it's really good sometimes when we have like genuine questions. For example, this person does this, should they be allowed to stay in the meeting? Well, what do the traditions say? Or we want to talk about this subject, what do the traditions say? And it's really good to have like some kind of baseline, even though these concepts are somewhat vague. I think they're vague, but not too vague. They're strict enough where we can kind of fall within these traditions, and still have a lot of room to kind of wiggle room to run the meeting however we choose to. So it's really nice. I think it works really, really well for alcoholics. And it's so far successfully allowed us to continue to grow, worldwide. And I think the proof is in the pudding that if I go somewhere today worldwide, for the most part, many countries in the world I can find a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, or at the very least, if they have internet, I can hop online. And I'm very, very grateful for that, to have that unity, essentially anywhere. So that's pretty much all I got. I'll pass with that. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, and happy birthday, brother. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. Art, come on in, my friend.
Hello, everybody. My name is Art. I'm a recovered alcoholic. And what I wanted to talk about is to expand a little bit on what Jamie said about Terry's question. The universal respect has to do with the whole group, not just the officers. Yeah, they have to have respect for themselves, but they have to command the respect of the group. Because if they don't, that's where their usefulness is in earning the respect of the whole group to allow them to do what they need to do in order to fulfill the responsibilities of their particular jobs, if you will. So when it says universal respect is the key to their usefulness, that respect comes from everybody, not just the group of officers, but the whole group. That universal respect is something that if you don't have it, you cannot be effective as a leader. And that's what it's talking about. The usefulness is dependent upon the universal respect. The other thing that I'd like to point out when we're talking about traditions is that in the 9th tradition, it's talking about the leaders don't get any. How does it say it? Our leaders in AA derive no real authority from their titles. They do not govern. And so it's necessary to have that universal respect in order for them to be effective. The other thing is that this was taken out of this step of this tradition and added into the 3rd tradition or the 2nd tradition in the short form. And it does kind of fit in there. So the development of the traditions, when I was early in my journey in sobriety, I wasn't particularly interested in traditions, and I think that's pretty universal. We have to get through the steps first, and then we can have a basis for looking at traditions. But the longer I'm in the program, the more interested I became in understanding the origin of these traditions. And as Bill says in the beginning, the traditions were, and I'm not sure if it's in this part of the earlier book, that the traditions were hammered out on the anvils of experience. And so there were a lot of experiential lessons in early Alcoholics Anonymous that produced this list of traditions. And every one of them is based on some experience early in the development of this program that, like it says in the very beginning, before it starts the traditions, our AA experience has taught us that, and then it goes through the 12 traditions. So it's not something that was just made up arbitrarily, it's something that that was developed as the early groups learned about the things that the traditions talk about. And there's a lot of experience went into the development of the traditions. And so I think it's important from that respect that even though the traditions give us great latitude in how we run our groups, they give us an autonomy in a group. But then it also tells us that if our plans are going to affect neighboring groups or AA as a whole, that we need to run it by them. And make sure that we aren't damaging the program as a whole as a result of what we're planning to do. And you know, I've run into situations through the years that people have tried to interpret the traditions in such a way that it allows them to do things that they really shouldn't be doing. And I've had experience with people in the group thinking that they know better and they're going to write to central office and then general service office and ask the questions. Can we do this? Can we do that? And the letters that come back almost always have some phraseology in there, something like this. Of course, you are certainly free to do whatever you want in your group. But our experience suggests that perhaps you should do something different. Or think about how this is going to affect other groups in your area or something of that nature. Never have I ever seen a letter from General Service Office in response to a question from the group. I have never seen them say, you cannot do that, or you can do this, or you should do. Never happens. And that's as a result of these traditions. And this tradition, this last sentence in tradition 9, that universal respect, is how that becomes effective. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Is there anyone else that would like to come in before we close out the first half? If not, well, yeah, Trisha's nodding her head. Come on in, toe tapping pickle birthday girl.
I'm Tricia, now I'm an alcoholic, and I'm just going to touch on a couple of things that I have directly experienced, or indirectly. You know, the 7th tradition tells us that we should be fully self-supporting by the voluntary contributions, and that we don't go out and fundraise. And you know, I haven't seen AA groups going out and fundraising. But I have been in groups where they were not as transparent as our group is with the group funds and what are they doing with the funds. And, you know, to me, that's a little disconcerting that if I'm putting the funds in expecting that what I put in the basket when it's passed is going to go for certain things, paying the rent, buying coffee if that's what the group does, handing out chips if that's what the group does, donating any excess onto the 4 entities. That's a wonderful thing. But if I'm sitting in a group conscience and I'm told that I'm not treasurer, what they do with the money is not my business, I take issue with that. Just like if it was a conversation I was having in family and there was money that was supposed to be spent on one thing and it got spent on something else. Don't tell me it's not my business. If I'm putting money in the hat or money in the basket as a member of a group in good trust that it's going to be used for a certain purpose. And I love how when we have our group conscience and we have the treasurer's report, we know exactly where that money's going. And there's absolutely no question. And if there are questions, they get asked and they get answered. Not shoved under the rug, not making it appear as if something's being hidden. And then the other one that I wanted to touch on was where is it? Tradition 8 should remain forever non-professional. About 20 years ago here in my area, there was another group that started coming in, went by 2 different letters, not AA, but tried to tell people they were just like AA. They did the steps, they did this, they did that. There was really no difference between them and us. But then people that I knew who went to this other group, this other entity, each individual was charging for sponsorship. And where's the spirituality in that? I don't step up for service, whether it's the coffee maker, opening the meeting, closing the meeting, sponsorship, GSR, whatever position I have held. I do not do any of that for money, because that's not what I'm told to do. Secretary of main office, secretary of intergroup, possibly. There's paid positions up in the New York office. But that's because somebody's doing that as their actual job. But if I walk into a meeting and I was told, hey, you should come over here, it's a great meeting, you'll get money for sponsoring people, it's like, nah, not going there, not touching it. And I'm gonna strongly recommend from my own experience that the people who are telling me about these meetings should probably run the other way really fast. Rotation is a wonderful thing on Tradition 9, but rotation also is based on willingness and availability. And in some groups I have seen where the old timers would refuse to step down. In this group we have the script. Jamie and I have been doing this. Rick and Jamie were doing it. But we always ask for other people to come in and help. I've been in-person meetings where 3 months, 3 years, the same people are running the meeting. And if you ask, can we change it? Can we do this? No, this is my meeting. This is the way we're doing. And, again, autonomy. They can do that if they want. But I often find with those meetings that if there's not a rotation, if there's not other people coming in of service, those other people looking to be of service will find those service positions elsewhere. And those meetings are not going to be able to hold on. Anonymity, I'm a lot more open with people outside of AA than I ever was before. Because the people in my life did not know me when I was drinking. There are probably more people at my workplace right now who know that I'm in the program than ever have. And that's my own choice. I have run into other people that I work with at meetings, but it's not my place to go back to work and say, hey, I saw her in a meeting. Because that could be the reason for somebody to walk back out. And I'm not going to do that to somebody. I'll see him in the hallway, I'll smile, I'll wave, I'll acknowledge, and it's kind of like a secret handshake, we know. But it's also not my place to tell somebody else, or to tell anybody that somebody else is in these rooms. That's up to them. And, I'm going to stop there so that we can get closed out, because time.
Is a message. Oh, Sorry. I think you're reading it, Trish.
Yes, I am reading it. So from page 164, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Trish. From the bottom of my heart, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for being here and being part of this group. This doesn't work without you. I'd just be sitting here in my living room going, twiddling my thumbs. And I am so grateful. Some of you have been with us almost from the beginning. And some of you came in the second season. But for whatever amount of time that you have been with us, my heart is absolutely filled with gratitude. And I hope that you have had an experience with the material in the book that has changed your life for the better, that has changed not only your own perception, but changed the way that you work with others. Next week, we only ever did 93 weeks, but we decided to add an extra week, and next week we will be dedicating the entire night to the spiritual experience with the questions. And while we visit it 3 times throughout the study, it's got other portions of the book mixed in with it. So I hope in this journey with us that you have had some sort of spiritual experience or spiritual awakening. And I certainly hope that week after next, you will come back and experience the entirety from the beginning. Because no matter how long I study this book, there is always more. There is always more for me to learn. And it serves 2 purposes. It serves my God, the God of my experience, and it serves the rest of His children. So I'm so grateful for that. We've got a real special way of closing out around here. We're all here because somebody else prayed for us. We couldn't do it in our own disease, but somebody else prayed for us. So we virtually hold our hands together, and after a moment of silence for those who are still sick and suffering, please join me in the Lord's Prayer. You're welcome to unmute and join me if you like, and here's your moment. Thank you. Who will take us from shame to grace if we let Him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be Thy name. Thy kingdom come,
Be Thy name.
Thy will be done, on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
And we know that some of you have to leave, but if you want to stick around and continue to share, you are more than welcome to. I am